PMI Chennai chapter, I welcome you all to the knowledge sharing session.
Agile, the new mantra in the PMI community, is the hottest topic in recent times. The success of Agile is fully dependent on the coach. To be successful, to be a successful coach, there are many qualities that project managers like me has to adopt or tune ourselves. Today's topic is the servant leadership, the road to become a successful enterprise Agile coach. To deliver this, we have Mr. Vidya Natarajan, who is having 17 years of experience in the field of IT. She has played many roles, starting from developer to delivery manager. Now she is an Agile coach. Currently, Vidya is working as an offshore delivery manager in CTS. Ma'am, you welcome me.
Thank you. Hi and welcome to you all for this live session on servant leadership, route to become a great agile coach. Able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so let me start. So today's session, it's going to be on how a Scrum Master can actually scale himself up to become a good coach, and how by exhibiting servant leadership qualities, he could become a great coach. So I am Sri Vidya Natarajan, and I am working as an agile coach plus an offshore delivery manager at Corporate Technology Solutions. So let's start. So before we start, I would like to know the type of audience we have. So how many of you have played the role of a Scrum Master? Or you're still playing the role of a Scrum Master or an Agile coach? Okay. How many of you are playing the role of a project manager? Okay, good. So, and how many of you are neither Scrum Masters nor project managers? Okay. So I should say 10% to 90 to 10. Okay. Okay, that's a good audience. So I think by the end of this session, you will definitely learn, you will have some new learnings, and with that hope, let's proceed further. So these are the great people who exhibited servant leadership qualities. So you see here Ken Blanchard and Robert Greenleaf and others. So what is the magic that they did? So they talked about team synergy, they talked about empowering the teams, and they talked about serving others rather than being served, and leaving behind like a shepherd, and so on. Okay, and the session today is going to be how we as Scrum Masters can exhibit these qualities and become a great coach. So these are the topics which we'll cover for today. So the different levels of Scrum Master responsibilities we see, and what are the enterprise coach qualities, what is not necessary but adds real great value, and what are the servant leadership tactics. So how do I start, and what are the best practices to follow to become a good coach, and what is the coaching ladder, and finally the outcome. And if you have any questions, just please note them down. By the end of the session, we are going to have a 15-minute Q&A session. Okay, so you see, there are around, I have put this as 4 levels of responsibilities of a Scrum Master. So how the Scrum Master can actually scale himself from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and at level 4 he can actually execute the responsibilities as a great coach. So at level 1, if you see, they focus only on the ceremonies, status reporting, managing the risks and issues, and many times the Scrum ceremonies are compromised, and the goals are not being met by the end of the sprint. And the team doesn't seem to have any, they don't find so much of value in that Scrum Master. Okay, So it is kind of just a 50% work, and it's a part-time job. Generally we see this kind of a responsibility when a person newly joins as a Scrum Master in the team. But you need other responsibilities, like you need to do effective retrospections, and we need to take care of the information radiators which need to be made visible to the management, right? So that gets us to the second level 2 type of Scrum Masters here, and or you can say the level 2 roles and responsibilities of a Scrum Master. So they handle good outcome-based retrospections. Yeah, that's good. They are able to monitor the team velocity. They come up with the burn-down charts, and they are delivering committed stories every sprint. Okay, and team is also showing improvements in productivity, and team, they seem to be convinced. They really find good value in the Scrum Master. But there are other things you have to do. You need to worry about the process improvements and about the metrics, the different types of metrics which we need to, make that visible to the management. So at level 1, we say the Scrum Master, it's kind of a floating kind of a job. And at level 2, they swim. But it's around 70% work, and again it's a part-time job. There are still more responsibilities which a Scrum Master can handle, which is, comes at level 3. So at level 3, you see that, the team is very process oriented, the Scrum Master is process oriented. They are having a strong vision of the release, and they also lead the team very well. They show good productivity improvement, and they do have an inspiring leadership style. They also create measurable data metrics, and they bring it to the visibility of the management. Team is happy, the Scrum Master is happy. All of them are happy. Everything is good, but what about team motivation, and how do we align with the organizational interests? And if you see, this is just 90% work, and there is still time left for the Scrum Master. So you see, they deep dive, but still way to go. So this gets us to the level 4 type of Scrum Masters. Okay, level 4 type of roles and responsibilities you need to play as a Scrum Master. This is going beyond diving. Okay, let's see the picture here. So this is 100% work, or it could be more. And if there is still time left, then I would love to hear back from you. So how can we, what are the key focus areas we need to look upon at level 4? So one is coaching the product owner. So how many of us have actually went and gone and coached the product owners? How many of us have had the one-to-one conversations with them? So that's a key focus area. And then continuous improvement. That is another key focus area which we need to do as a coach. Then we are going to talk about the organization level activities which we need to handle as a coach. And then feedback, getting the feedback and having constructive feedback always. So these are the 4 key focus areas which would definitely help us to become a good coach. So we're going to look at each one of them. So coaching the product owner. So it is, having the one-to-one conversation with the POs, and how many of us have actually, asked the product owner, what are the midterm goals, what are the release goals, and how is the product doing at the market, and what are all those important features, why it is of so much of priority, and all these kind of questions. We need to empower the product owner, we need to make them empowered, we need to make them capable. So when we ask those questions, the product owner goes and he or she gets the answer for us. And that's how the product owner also grows. So we need to ask these questions, or how this product or how this particular functionality is going to affect the end user and the customers. And we can also go to the extent of reviewing the acceptance criteria. So that is going to add more value. And I can give you one example, real-time example where we had a new product owner in the team, and I not only explained about the process, I also went and explained about how the product works, how the workflow is, and how it overall interacts with the main system. And we had technical leads who gave in-depth details. So, I mean, you can sense how much a Scrum Master can actually add value to the team. Okay, and go to the level of even coaching the product owner. And then this is a very important role and responsibility of a coach. So continuous improvement. So we need to care about the application, right? So everybody knows you have a lot of technical debts. Everybody knows about it. The team knows about it. The leads are aware of it. But then they don't have the time to do it because they are worried about, sprint after sprint, they need to deliver. So they know it's all needed, but they just, don't focus. I think as a coach, we have a greater responsibility here. So we need to interact with the team. We need to bring the technical debts to the table. And I think one of the retrospections are one of the best ways to do that. So that is a good place where you can interact and you can bring those technical debts to the table. And not only that, you can also make them add as part of the product backlog and then prioritize them in these sprints. And also, explain the product owner how this is really going to help the application, in terms of performance, So that is something which I think as a Scrum Master, he has a greater responsibility to go ahead and help the team. And then there are a lot of metrics, which you can provide visibility to the management. It's not only just the, the velocity or the burn down chart. There are other things like, what is the business value which is delivered and things like that, So you have to think of, ways where you can provide better metrics to the management. And pair programming. So this is if you see, many companies like Microsoft and Google, they have actually been really successful doing pair programming, and even companies like Ericsson have done a great job. So I was attending one of the sessions by Paul Madden, who was the head of the product development at Ericsson, and what he actually found success by introducing pair programming at Ericsson. And he said, when we do pair programming, the team actually goes an extra mile. The programmers go an extra mile and they go and complete the work. And it actually, kind of builds team ethics, and the bottlenecks are removed. And also, it kind of a competency is developed between the pair. So encourage pair programming, try it out. And then, thinking lean. So as agile coaches, we need to embrace lean. So it is not a kind of, it's not a separate job. So it should be part and parcel of a job. So on your day-to-day activities, you can see so many situations where you can bring in lean concepts, right? So I can give you one example of, where in one of my projects, we had this sluggish time trackers, okay, and the team has to go and they have to enter in all the 3 time trackers. So what we did was, it was a challenging one, but what we did was we had time entered only in the one tracker, and we ensured that the data gets exported into the others, and both of them were of different platforms. It was challenging, but we did it. But the time saving it got for the team. So that is the way we will have to think of how we can reduce the waste. And again, one more example which I can say is we had this lot of infrastructure requirements we used to get right before when the release starts. So what used to happen is until sprint 2, the infrastructure requirements doesn't get completed, and there's a lot of time waste there where the developers and the testers, they have to wait for long and until the infrastructures until they get the systems, and it was a kind of we had to even defer some features to the next release due to this. So what we did was we actually involved all the leads and the architects and everybody from the start of the release, and we tried and completed this by the end of before sprint 0. So this is how we have to see what are the value added steps and what are the non-value added steps. We need to reduce the non-value added steps as much as possible. So I think in terms of infrastructure requirements, if the software vendors are also agile, then definitely it's going to be of great help for us in an agile project. And we also need to concentrate on the organization level activities. So resolving a lot of impediments and aligning the team roadmap with the organizational roadmap and spreading that culture. So when we had this new agile adoption in our team, and these handoffs, right? There used to be this handoffs happening from right from the BA to the DBA to the developer to the tester, and we were in agile, but we were not able to see value because these handoffs were existing. So what we did was we got into a lot of checkpoint calls. We met daily, and slowly these handoffs actually became like really informal ones. Okay, and the team saw a lot of value, and they also delivered faster. And we just what we did was we went and spread this culture across the other teams. So that is how you make an impact at the organization level. So we went and spread this culture across teams, across the other teams in the organization through all the Scrum calls. We were able to really make an impact. And there was another issue where we didn't have a product owner who was representing in our team. It was not just in our team. There were also other teams where there was no representation of a product owner. I mean, different people had interest in the project, but when it comes to the calls, there was no representation. So we didn't know what to do. So what we did was we checked with the product sponsor. And we then, after having a lot of conversations, the person who approves the budget of the project, right? So we had all the conversation, and then finally, we were able to get a representation of PO. And slowly, we spread this culture across the organization, and everybody had this impediment, and we were able to resolve this. So this is how we spread the culture, the agile culture across the organization. And feedback. This is a very important responsibility of an agile coach. Okay, so you need to get feedback from the teams. You need to have continuous feedback from the stakeholders. You need to have continuous feedback from the customers. So that is very important. So when you get a constructive feedback, that really helps you to learn more quickly and with a greater accuracy, and you can prioritize and do the changes quickly. So in some of my projects, what we used to do is we used to have this quarterly assessments. Okay, and thereby we got really get to know of a lot of pain points in the application and in the way the Scrum works. And especially we had issues with requirements engineering and portfolio planning. So we were able to set up targets and set up outcomes. So feedback is one of the most important role of a product of a Scrum coach. Okay, so we saw the 4 key focus areas with where a coach has to concentrate. Now we are going to see some of the coach qualities, so which would help you to actually bring about the servant leadership style. So let's go one by one. These are the top 10. So emotional. So let's not be emotional. So how many of us have not been emotional with our teams at some point or the other? We have all been emotional, right? There's not even one person who would not have been emotional with our teams. So don't be emotional, but have emotional intelligence, which is engaging with the people in a way where you can draw them towards you, and have emotional agility, where you can view the world from other people's perspectives. So that will help you, that will help us succeed. And judgmental. So don't be judgmental. So I mean, you definitely have to be judgmental when you decide between the right and the wrong, when you have to take the right decisions. but do not judge the people around you as hypocrites. So everybody invests their best time and effort in whatever they do. So don't be judgmental. Be empathetic. So be an empathetic coach. So an empathetic coach is someone who actually places an understanding of the customer at the forefront always. So empathetic, it's a strong emotion. It is an art, and you can definitely influence a lot. You can influence an individual. You can influence a team. You can influence the organization. So be empathetic. Be an empathetic coach, and have a vision. So vision is something that identifies the future state of a product, right, in its completion state. So Ken Schwaber said the minimum requirement, the minimum software requirement to execute a project is a product vision and a product backlog. So vision is something, the art of seeing the invisible. So right from the developer to the tester to the CEO, so they need to be very clear on what is the vision of the organization of the product, and they need to have a clear understanding. And then be realistic. So what happens is most often you see the requirements are not right, and the testers have to wait for the development to get completed. So there's a lot of time waste which happens there, and also we sometimes skip regression testing before the last bug fix into a release. So before the last bug fix happens, we skip regression testing. So I mean, these are some of the common things we see in the agile world. It is still happening, and I think a realistic agile is something which actually embraces the spirit of agile. So be realistic and help your teams to be realistic. Collaborative. So have a collaborative mindset and help the team to be collaborative. So you see, the testers have to be involved right from the start of the release. They need to know the big picture. And the designers, they have to go and they have to work together with the developers. So they cannot work in silos. But we see, a lot of designers working in silos. They create extra effort both for themselves and also for others. And finally, what you see is, harmful silos of work created in the team, right? So be collaborative and help the team as an agile coach. Help the team to be collaborative. Be determined. So you need to make the choices, you need to make your decisions according to your preferences and according to your interests as an agile coach. Nobody will come and tell you, what you have to do. You know what you want. You have to decide what you want to do, how you want to present it to the management, what is the change you want to bring about, what is the behavior change you want to bring about. So that is something as an agile coach, we have to be really determined what we want to do. And be a good listener. So many of the entrepreneurs, many of the leaders have actually, credited their success for their effective listening skills. So be a good listener and focus on the speaker, focus on the team, focus on the client, and definitely this is one of the great qualities we need to have. Perhaps, the most important thing which we can ever give each other is our attention, right? So be a good listener. Be honest. So you need to be honest with everybody. You need to be honest with the developers, with the testers, with the senior management folks, with the client, and that actually creates credibility, that increases loyalty, and that enhances a healthy relationship between each other. So we wanted we expect our manufacturers and vendors to be very honest to us, right? When they sell their products and services to us, we expect them to be honest. And our customers, again, they expect the same from us. So let's be very honest, and imagine if the client does not, they are not honest about what they need versus what they want, we will not be delivering anything of value, right? So be honest. This is one of important coach quality. Maintain integrity. So most often, integrity is synonymously, mistakenly, made synonymous with the word honesty, but it is, deeper than that. So it is something when you are doing the right thing when nobody is around you, right? That is integrity. And walking the talk, that is integrity. So you see, you see these kind of people generally in your work environment where high integrity leaders, they actually don't blame others. They take the blame themselves. They own the situation, they own the outcomes, and high integrity leaders are they are ruthlessly honest, and they are always accessible to the team. So maintain integrity. So these are the top 10 qualities which will definitely help you to become a great coach with a servant leadership style. So what is not necessary but adds great value? So here you see, you should have product expertise. You can have, that's an additional value. You can have technology expertise, and you can also have expertise on the financial accounting and the contracting part. So when we say product expertise, so if you have knowledge about the product, imagine how much of impact you can make to the teams. So you can help the teams in the grooming the release backlog, and grooming the stories, slicing them, and you can add so much of value. And if you see, in many cases, the acceptance criteria which is given by the product owner, it just gets accepted without negotiation, right? So it's just there, and whatever the product owner says, we just accept it. So we can actually change that. We can go and review, we can negotiate. So it really adds a lot of value when you contribute to all the release planning sessions, and if you really understand the whole picture of how the application interacts with the overall system, how the dependencies are handled between the upstream and the downstream, that's something which is really a valuable quality. And nowadays, organizations really don't want Scrum Masters who just do admin tasks. They should, provide more value add. So I think product expertise is something which will definitely give you a lot of credibility, and it will, make you different, keep you as a different person altogether. And again, technology expertise. So you see, there are a lot of social websites and blogs, right, where there's a lot of debate going on whether a Scrum Master should be a technical person or not. So a Scrum Master need not be a technical person, but definitely it's going to add so much of value. So imagine, a Scrum Master helping the team on guiding them on the unit testing, guiding them on the test-driven development, and if he goes and if he can understand the technical impediments, if he can understand the pain points of a technical person, so that adds so much of value. The team will see so much of value in the Scrum Master. So have technical expertise, that will definitely help you. And then financial and accounting. So you need to understand how the projects get initiated, how it gets funded, approved, budgeted, and you can also have more knowledge on how the T&M and the fixed bid projects work. And again, about agile contracting. So that is, agile contracting is something that is the need of the hour, right? There are so many topics around agile contracting, so many sessions which are going on. So it is, that's something which is really essential, which you can understand, which you need to know. So some of these servant leader tactics, which I thought, which will really help us to become, exhibit that style of servant leadership. So learn from the team. So we need to interact with the team. We need to seek and value their opinions, their diverse opinions. So we need to respect them and treat them with a lot of dignity. And so understand them, understand what their interests are and what their focus is about. Okay. There is one writing in a blog which said, Scrum Master or an Agile coach is somebody who sets up meetings not according to their preference, but according to the preference of their team. Okay, so whether it be on-site or offshore. So we need to learn from the team and see what interests them and work with them. Provide opportunities for growth. So there are different ways, as a coach, you can impact the team on their growth. Okay? You can provide career opportunities, which is, giving them some significant job descriptions and significant roles to perform, impressive job titles. That is something which will really motivate the teams and help them to grow. And again, if you see on the professional growth, you can you can help them to sharpen their skills and knowledge, in sending them to any conferences, lot of webinars and a lot of mentoring programs. So that will really, help them to sharpen their skills. And again, on the personal growth, you can help a lot. You can, give them ways where you can, they can work remotely, or you can give them flexible timings to work, and any kind of social gatherings outside the work we can encourage as a coach. And always demonstrate by example. So this is, we need to be kind of a mirror to the team always. So be a mirror to the team, and also show the mirror of their work. So if they are doing something, whatever, whether it is, the positive and negative consequences of whatever decisions they have made, we need to bring them to the table and tell them that, this is what has happened. So we ask them the right questions. For example, are your retrospections making any sense? Ask them that question. Is it making any sense? So last sprint we said we are going to do this. So we did this, and this is what has happened. Is it right that something good has happened, or do we have to change something? So we have to go and ask them the right questions, show them the mirror of whatever they have done, and then you will see that behavior change, happening. So always demonstrate by example. I think one of the most important quality of an agile coach is to drive the team to an outcome. So you need to demonstrate by example and help the team. And always have, a let's do it attitude and not a you do it attitude. Let's always say, let's discuss, we have an idea, let's go ahead and do this. So always use the word we. And think long-term solutions. So this is something, you have to go ahead and you can work with the management, with the senior management folks, and see how you can impact on the long-term solutions. So you can have long-term goals set up, like, say it could be revenue goals, or it could be employee related goals, it could be some strategic goals, or it could also be some, the client service goals. So if you say, just for an example, if you take revenue goals, you can go and talk to them. Say if you have a goal that you want to double the revenue by the end of this fiscal year. And so the next step is go and analyze the data, bring the data to the table on how the customer trends are going on. So that is how you go and, see how you can place the goals. And again, if you think of, if you say employee related goals, see how the job descriptions can be mapped to the Scrum roles. And see if we can, do different ways of judging the appraisals, because instead of always, the traditional way of doing things. So we can think of those kind of, long-term goals. And when you say client service related goals, for example, say we want to always have 95% positive feedback from the client. Okay, then see how you can improve on the questionnaires, on the surveys, and how we can bring about a lot of discounts in whatever we sell, on the software products we sell. And when you think of strategic goals, so one thing what we can do is, we can see if the strategic planning can be aligned with the tactical planning. So any of you here from the audience know who is that role, which is that role which can actually, align, which can actually link the strategic planning and the tactical planning? Anybody from the audience who can tell me a Scrum role which takes part in both the strategic planning and the tactical planning way? It's the product owner. So the product owner can actually, act as a catalyst. So the product owner can actually, because they are there with the portfolio team, they are discussing on the strategic planning with the portfolio team, and they are also with the team, with the technical team. So see how much of value add they can bring about if, since they have vision on both areas, they can come up with, a more effective strategic goals. So how do I start, and what are the 4 whats of coaching? So as an example, we can take organization agility. So what does the organization need? We need to be agile. The overall organization need to be agile. What is the end goal? We want to maximize the business value. That's our end goal. And what effect? And what effect it will have on the individual? What is going to change? So definitely you're going to have a change in, there's going to be a transparency, there's going to be a visibility across the organization, there's going to be a lot of communication and collaboration, and what effect it will have on the individual people and organization. So definitely you're going to see process change, and there's going to be a huge culture change. Okay, so how do I start? So my friends, what we need to do is move away from the predictive and planning way of working into more of sensing the situation and responding to the situation. Okay, we have to move away from a directive way of working into becoming a kind of a catalyst. Okay, say for example, instead of saying how we can go and change something, let's create conditions that can favor the collaboration and ownership. And if you want to direct the flow of information, and instead of doing that, let's design structures that would actually smoothen the flow of information, and that would ease interaction with everybody, and that would remove all impediments, and that would create transparency. And instead of controlling how things should be done and how people have to work, be a catalyst and come up with introduce a lot of trainings, and introduce a lot of trainings where we can go and bring about a lot of skill development for the teams, and we can make them effective in communication, planning, or whatever. So instead of being a directive, let's be catalyst. So when you become a catalyst, then that's when you actually go and you see the change happening in the organization. And these are some of the best practices which we as an agile coach can follow. Measure and evaluate coaching. So we need to have these coaching surveys to be done within our teams. It could be monthly or it could be quarterly, whatever. So let's go and have these kind of coaching sessions, and we can come up with a lot of surveys and then present those results to the management. So we need to demonstrate the change. So that is very important. And come up with and set up the target and outcome. So you can do a kind of a pre-360 degree feedback, and you can do a post-360 degree feedback session. And then bring the senior management and let them know what changes happened, let them understand how the teams have grown, let them understand how the coach has grown and what is that they want to grow more in the coming in future. And tie these goals to corporate strategy. Get support from the organization and tie them to the organization strategy and work on them. And then finally, take time. So often, we are torn between work and self-development. So we need to take a lot of time for self-development and give time for the team to grow. And again, you can get the senior managements, in some of the sessions and tell them, let them see how much of impact the teams have made, how much committed they have been and they have delivered, and we can actually influence them to give them that time for the self-development of the team. So this is the coaching ladder. So the first thing is, we need to create an awareness in the teams. That is the first step in the coaching ladder. So when you create awareness in the team, and then the teams will go, and they will come and bring about the behavior change. And when that happens, so that is the real value and real enjoyment of coaching, where you see the transformation happening. When the teams go and when they commit themselves to this behavior change and with their actions, and that is true empowerment. And that is how individual's potential grows, and self-confidence is increased. And then the second one is action planning. So once awareness is done, you have to wait and you have to give them time, give the teams time to go and work on those actions. So come out with an action planning with a target and an outcome, and you need to wait and see. We need to have a lot of follow-up sessions to see how this behavior change is happening. And next is behavior change. And then you will see a behavior change, and you will see it only if the behavior change is really easy and if it is rewarding, then you will see that change in the team. And if the team feels that they have the skills, they have the knowledge to do it, and there are no obstacles to it, then you can see the behavioral change in them. You can see faster, and then you will see a behavioral change when the team really feels that this is a valuable thing. Okay, my actions, the behavioral change which they are going to do is going to be really valuable for them. Then they will do that. Then you can see the change in them. And finally, once you have the behavior change, you need to make it sustained. A sustained behavior change. So when will it be sustained? So you have brought about a change in the team, but you have to sustain it. So that will happen by you have to give constant feedbacks, and you have to provide the teams opportunities for growth, and make them focus individually on each of them, and you have to demonstrate by examples. And finally, you need to celebrate success. So how many of us, have actually gone and celebrated success in agile way of working? So we used to do that, right, in our traditional way of working, where at the last day of the release, so all the teams, they become really heroics and they work all night, and finally, we have the go live. And then the next day morning, you see a big chain of mail coming from the senior management saying that, you have performed so well. I mean, great work team. So that used to happen in the traditional way of working. It has to happen in the agile way of working also. See, the team is delivering sprint after sprint, but it is going like kind of a machine kind of a life, right? So you need to celebrate success every sprint. So send that mail to all the senior folks in the organization, saying that how the team has delivered sprint on sprint. And not only that, you can also come up with how many technical debts the teams have resolved, how much of defects they have done apart from delivering the functionality. And we also do this, right? In the sprint, we take up change at the last minute and we complete that on time. So come up with that, the burn down graph which shows that scope creep, and let them know how much the team has actually done. They have taken a scope change and they completed it on time. So that is something kind of thing you have to do for sustained behavior change. So you go and celebrate success, and then teams get motivated. And finally, how will that sustained behavior change become a perceived behavior change? So perceived in the sense, it is a realized behavior change where they won't go back. So once you have this sustained, then it becomes a kind of a perceived behavior change which you will see. So if you see a caterpillar, so once it forms a cocoon, and then it becomes a butterfly, and then it again cannot go back to the cocoon, right? So that is actual perceived behavior change which you will see. So this is the coaching ladder, and from the awareness to action planning to behavior change, and then you can get into a sustained behavior change, and finally you will see a perceived behavior change. That is the real success being an agile coach, and that's how you can impact an organization. So these are some of the differences between a boss and a leader. So a boss actually drives others, but a leader coaches others. A boss inspires fear, but a leader inspires enthusiasm. And the boss always blames others, and leader is something who will go ahead and help to fix it. So that is servant leadership, true servant leadership. And the boss always says I, but the leader says we. And a boss knows how it's done, but the leader shows how it's done. And the boss depends on authority, but leaders depend on goodwill. And the boss uses people, but leader, as a servant leader, we need to go ahead and develop people. Boss takes credit, but a leader gives credit. A boss commands and he says go, and leader says let's go. So that's the true difference between a boss and a leader. And so if you have these qualities, if you can take, we as coaches can take care of all these qualities, and if we can focus on the key areas at organization level, definitely we are going to see a greater speed in the change and innovation. Definitely the employees will treat the customers very well. We are going to have better performing teams, and it's going to be a better organization, and definitely they're going to have happy customers. So I think we have come to the end of this session. we have 10 more minutes left for the Q&A. So, any questions